Okay, here's the next update. As you can see, there's been uh, quite a bit of difference to how this looked from last time. What I've gotten here is all of the primary colors down, and I'll kind of walk you through what I've done to date so far. So, apologize if this is a little redundant in some ways, but just wanted to go through things. So, what I did here is originally I was going to make these pieces, the chains and stuff like that, permanent. Modular. They're going to be able to come out, and long story short, in trying to do that and move it out, this chain is just not that strong, and I actually broke it. So what I did is I made it look like the chain actually broke, and then fix these in place, and they'll just stay there. So if the rest of the chains breaks, I'll just do the same thing. I'll just basically end up tacking it down to the whole thing and making it look like, it's been dilapidated, which obviously the rest of this looks like. Uh, what I've also done is done all of the primary weathering. I put an initial coat of Future Floor Wax as my gloss coat for terrain pieces. Given the size and volume, you just can't beat that stuff. Plus, it goes through an airbrush like nobody's business. So putting on a coat was pretty easy. Let that dry, and then I broke out my set of my set of oil paints, and just got this a while ago. It was one of those kind of a buy on a spree, just picked one up and got tons of colors, and I've become more and more and more a fan of oil washes, mostly because just the color variations. I've done a couple where with a subtle piece and using some of the greens and blues, where you get this bluish gray hint of a wash, which is really cool looking, especially for terrain pieces. It just gives that a whole new look to things. Can't beat oil washes. Plus, the other factor is you can make these things in bulk really, really cheap. So, if you can, if you see the size of this, if you were to try to do this with, a GW wash or even an Army Painter wash, and even the stuff in volume that you can get, those things are going to cost you 10, 20 bucks, and you're going to burn a fair amount of it just covering just one coat of washes. And I'm going to do multiple washes to this thing. Again, overall materials, just the washes alone would cost more than the actual this piece of terrain. So these with, a small, you don't need something like this, but just if you were to get black, the different umbers, and maybe one or two other colors, go to Hobby Lobby, use the coupon, get them in what you need. The tubes will last you forever, and then just a thing of thinner, and like I said, you can go to town and just make literally, quarts of stuff for pennies on the dollar and be able to get all this stuff. So let me show you what I've done with some of it. Again, just coming in some of the wash, as you see things, is you can try to give it age and make it look like it's been, water and different liquids have been seeping through things. And over here, kind of a similar thing. Some of that, those are right now still kind of the first layers. I've got another set with AK Interactives. I'll put on here some grime streaks that'll give it a little bit more, it'll act more of a filter, and it'll mute some of these hard lines down. It'll mute it out a little bit, and just give it that, and then just washes and the pin washes and all of this stuff to make all the lines pop out. And then I bought a while ago, I have a thing of Army Quick Shade, and I put that on all the sand and the stuff around the perimeter, so that gives that, it does a couple of things. One, because it's actually a urethane, it's a nice again additional hard coat that goes over the sand and stuff like that. So again, this thing can take a lot of abuse, and you're not going to chip off and see odd colors. And then it just gives that extra little tone. Plus, it's got a really rich color to it, so it gives it a nice tone with the browns. And then my last little pieces that I've been making up for the last few days is I made up a couple banners, just printed those off, did it like I did on the last piece. They're just printed off. This one is just on bamboo skewers. Just started doing the base painting on this one, painting the skewer brown, the back of this thing black, and then printed these two off. My son asked me why did I pick these two Legions to do, and I said, quite honestly, one, they were easy searches I found, and I thought they actually had the most detail and kind of scaled out. So nice part is, again, with bamboo skewers and just going in those holes that I made for this thing, essentially I could make any version that I wanted to, and just by switching those out could theme up the piece a little bit if you wanted to by putting certain banners and stuff like that. So that's what that looks like. Again, just to give it a little bit more field, depth of field, to show just different, that your eye can be drawn to different portions and different depths into the piece, not just, oh look, there's this one thing that I look at and everything else gets missed in the piece. So that's the idea, is especially with something this big, is you need to give different things for the eye to focus on. So that's why you see things up close, there's little details, things in the mid, kind of things in the back that step you through how you see this terrain piece. So getting close to the home stretch, I am hoping to start doing some dry brushing to make a lot of the edges pop, and then again more of the griming and streaking and stuff like that. And then after that, it's just going to be another matte coat, because it's still got a little bit of a sheen to it. The matte coat I use is just out of a spray can, and quite honestly, it's not that good of a matte coat, but it does a good job of sealing things. I like using Liquitex at the end. That sort of gives everything a really nice matte finish, and that will basically be the final sealing up of the piece. And then the last step is going to be doing filling this in with the crystal clear gallery glass to give this a liquid look, and then I'd call this piece done. I'm thinking right now, I'm actually kind of leaning towards leaving the landing pad in the end and maybe just breaking that off of its own little sub piece, so I can call this piece done and move on to the next project that I have to get done for a friend of mine. That's actually part of a deal that I did that I'm doing with them. So I need to get working on that, so that way I can at least get this piece done and kind of go to the next steps there. So there you go.